It's a twin topic we're looking at today. First, we're looking at the capital market performance in the last couple of weeks. It's been deep in red. And of course, we look at the PMI report that was released yesterday by the Central Bank of Nigeria. And of course, we also will project what inflation may likely look at today. We're expecting that data any moment from now from the National Bureau of Statistics. But let me introduce my guest, Muktar Mohammed. He's a financial analyst. He joined me virtually from Lagos. Good morning, Muktar.
Good morning, Yusuf. My pleasure.
Yeah, it's a pleasure always. Let's look at the stock market performance in recent times. I mean, not really what we expect. What do you have to say with regard to that?
Well, I don't know what's the other is not what we really expect, but when you look at the market at times like this period, that's what normally happens. There's a slowdown because we are waiting. It's called the interim earnings seasons. And so some of these results for the major players that really tick the market are not yet out. And we're talking about companies that will be paying interim dividends, especially those that are regulated by the Central Bank of Nigeria. And you're talking about the financial sector. They seem to be the one that pick the market where whenever they release their interim results. And so for now, that is not there because of they are waiting for the regulators to get through with that. So that we shouldn't surprise anybody. And again, because of the rights offer issues that are going on in the market at the moment, there's a lot of slowdown in that space also. So if you look at that, those seem to be the key drivers. So when you begin to see a slowdown in those places, that investors are being very, very cautious. And again, investors are looking for buying opportunities, and those buying opportunities are not so much more there like it used, because some of the companies that you would think you need to buy in terms of long-term profitability and dividends are suffering a lot as a result of the FX volatility losses, especially in the consumer sector, the conglomerate, the communication sector. So all these are having impact on the market, because ordinarily the market feels that by now some of these companies should be reduced. There should be reduction in terms of their FX losses, and that seems not to be happening. So a lot of investors are being very, very cautious again. And like I said, seasons like this also was normally there's not so much build of activities, especially until these results start coming in. And sometimes when this result comes in, they have been priced in already. So you could not see this kind of movement. And this year will be definitely very different. Because again, we'll be looking at if these right issues, when they'll be listed, what will be the third quarter profit, will it impact on the final dividend payment? And so a lot of things that are going to happen after the second quarter. And that could be the determining point of the market.
All right. Muktar, there seems to be so much delay in terms of the results of the second quarter. We're in the month of August. We're still expecting the results of the quarter that ends in the month of June. What do you think is actually responsible for that? And also see stock like Veritas Capital planning to pay about 1.3 billion naira dividends to its investors. What do you make of that at this point in time?
Let me start with Veritas Capital. I think that's a very good one for the market. And now you see that stock also has grown in leaps and bounds since they announced it. So it's a good one. That's what I keep saying, that then the market itself will respond to positivity. But because Veritas Capital is not a big time player in the market, and you didn't see those positivity turning around inside the overall market index because of the price and also the outstanding shares that they have and the sector that they play. So hopefully in that sector, they seem to be the gainers now, and that's in the insurance sector. So definitely you see how that plans out. Yes, now for the others, like I said, what we are waiting for is for most of the financial sector and most of the tier 1 banks. And because again, it's an audited second quarter result compared to just a second quarter result. It's an audited second quarter result because they want to pay interim dividend. They have to go through regulatory approval. Access Bank have told us already that they have had their board meeting, and the interim dividend has been recommended. Same thing to Zenith Bank have also said the same thing. And I think UBA also, and those that pay interim dividend have also said the same thing. But again, you also not to forget that there's also a 3-month grace period in where companies are allowed to wait till after 3 months. If those results are not out, that is when you begin to pay fine to the exchange and you may be blacklisted. So hopefully, I believe strongly that before the end of the month of September, those results will start coming in like it normally will come in. And then it could also come in with third quarter result, because that's not what normally happens. Remember, the third quarter result is not going to be an audited result. So, but I understand what you're trying to say. The fact that we don't have so many banks submitting their audited result for interim dividend. It should be faster than what we are seeing.
Are there in any way, Muktar, you talked about the right issue, the IPOs that is going on in the market. Almost all the banks have rushed to the market for initial public offer. Will you attribute this to the ongoing recapitalization policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria? A lot of banks are in the market. FCMB is there, Access Bank, and so many of them. Zenith Bank, where they have been there for some time now.
Of course, CBN told them to recapitalize fresh funds. So they have to come to the market to get fresh funds. The good news is that we heard from Fidelity Bank after their 2-week extension that they were oversubscribed. So that shows that investors are excited about it. We need to get a breakdown of why they are oversubscribed. Were they oversubscribed by high net investors or by retail investors? That's what we're not going to know. Were they oversubscribed because of the input of foreign investors? We need to get those breakdown first before we can become very, very excited. But we're excited that it has happened like that, so it's good for the market. Yes, you know that the current right issues from the CBN also calls for a little bit of caution, because again, ordinarily some of these banks in their retail earnings already, they have above what the CBN is asking them to recapitalize to. CBN is talking about 500 billion, and most of these companies are having a retail earnings of over 1 trillion. But again, the regulators tend to do an orthodox means of raising capital, because in other developed economy, why you have to the retained earnings is because that retained earnings can be used to shore up shareholder form in eventuality of crisis. But the CBN is saying no, you have to bring in fresh funds. So that also has a little bit of impact on the market. But again, that is not enough to affect their results coming out. Maybe because, but I think that one is due to CBN trying to vet the result and making sure that they tie the line and dot the line and see that these results are good. So that's what I feel.
All right. Still talking about the IPOs, Muktar. Is it these IPOs, are they available for the general public, or just for the shareholders of these companies?
Okay, it's not an IPO. Most of them have done IPO since it's not an initial public offer. None of them are doing initial public offer. They are doing public offer. Some are doing public offer. GTCO did only public offer. That means they want every investors to be involved, whether you have shares or not. Access Bank is only doing right offer. That means only for existing investors. Zenith Bank is doing right and public offer. The right offer is cheaper for investors at 36 naira, while the public offer is about 36 naira 50 kobo. So that is what they are doing. FCMB also is doing a public offer also. So every bank comes up with their strategy. Some of the Fidelity did both right and public offer. So it depends on what strategy the bank see. But for the right offer, it's only for existing shareholders. For the public offer, you can get new shareholders. I think that's where we stand.
Okay, now for investors now that are alien to the market, now do you think it's the right time for them to invest, given the fact that these offers are actually coming in at the time that it appears that the banks are indeed looking for funds?
Well, Yusuf, you need to say why are Nigerian banks this big like they are now, and key driver of the economy was because of 2003 or thereabout, where they had the first public offer recapitalization drive driven then by the then CBN governor and Chukwuma Soludo. And so that's why the banks have gone. And a lot of people get into the market at that period. If you look at that time, Zenith Bank right issue was about 10 naira 80 kobo. That was his initial public offer. And so GTQ also did an offer at that time, almost like 2 naira before even they people say they should recapitalize. Remember, it was during those recapitalization we got banks like Zenith Bank being listed in the market. They were not there before. Stanbic IBTC2, also FCMB, all of them came to the market at that time because they were raising capital. So it could be an interesting times when they begin to raise capital. So they get more investors into the market. They get a lot of people that have not invested before. Sometimes you'll be surprised that what you're getting at first-time investors. I shouldn't forget that our Gen Z generations, they have not seen any offer like this before. So in the life of an economy, you have people. So some of them, this might just be the turning point whereby they become shareholders. Some of them are buying the offer for the first time. Some of them are going to be hearing about the stock market for this first time. So it has its advantage, and I think it's good whereby you begin to tell Nigerians ways to preserve their wealth. So it's exciting times to get new investors in the market, especially retail investors.
Indeed. Where do you think this will lead the market?
Well, all this will bend down to positivity naturally. In the near future, maybe in the short term, you could see a slowdown. But in the near future, all this will lead to positivity. Then you look at the right issue. Why are they having the right issue? What are they really doing? If you look at most of their prospectus on the right issue, realize that a lot of them are looking for the right issue to expand into ordinary other markets. So they are just looking for these right issues to get more funding because the CBN said they need to sort for fund. They are awash with a lot of liquidity. So most of their right issues expanding into other major, especially major African market, and also trying to be a global player, and also trying to do a high ticketing deal, especially now that the government is saying you want to build $1 trillion economy. So it's not like they are looking for that money because there's so much needed to boost their operational level. Most of them, like I say, retail earnings enough to push the operational level. So what we see is that most of this money will be put into other ventures, like in the fintech space, improve their IT backbone, also look for new market, exploit new market, then also look for opportunity to invest, especially in the SME space for Nigerian smaller business, especially with the kind of infrastructural development we're expecting from this government. All this will play a major role in a major role. So those numbers come true, if those investments come true, in the long term, you see the positivity in the market. But in the short term, yes, investors will be very cautious. If you're a player in the market, you're looking at should I take my right or should I not take my right? What will happen in the near future, by and by what has happened before? But those are short-term cautious mechanisms employed by most investors. But in the long term, it will excite the market, especially when these numbers start coming in, and we see that this money was utilized to boost the profitability of those companies.
Indeed. Before we leave the market, let's quickly see how the market is going to close today. It's been red since Monday. What are your expectations for today?
I think it's still looking like that. Midday report is not looking very interesting yet. We've seen the Access Bank is still at the modest level of 1930. We see that a bank like Zenith Bank is doing 36.90 the moment, and also we see that GTQ is doing 45.26. So when you look at those high cap stocks, it's not really looking very good. Like I said, we'll continue to see that, especially Zenith is also in the market to raise money. Access Bank has done extension of their right issues, and so it's not looking like if there will be any drastic turnaround. But in the stock market, 1 second can make a lot of difference. It's still early days. The market opened at 10, and we just to almost lost about 1 hour plus into the market. So there's still a lot that will happen in the market within those periods.
All right. Moving away from the market now, let's look at the PMI index that was released yesterday by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Of course, is more like a gauge that we use to gauge the direction of the economy, and that contrasts for about 13 consecutive time now we are seeing it contracting. What will you say with regards to that? What do you think we need to do? Because there's a lot of complaints from the feedback that we got this morning on the program. A lot of people are indeed complaining, and yet we are seeing this contraction in our economic data. How far do you think our economy has to endure for all of this?
Well, our economy is very resilient. Yes, those data they are different from public opinion, which sometimes is always like that in any economy, because it depends on how they are analyzing this data and where they are taking it from. Also makes a lot of difference. So, yes, it has not been good for Nigeria economy, especially due to headwind inflation and also micro-induced inflation, production-induced inflation, demand and supply-induced inflation. And also all these inflations have really been affecting the market all at the same time. And then the CBN have not been able to come with a magic word to stem this inflation, and also cost of doing business also have gone up. So a lot of companies that are borrowing are really borrowing at a high cost. Consumer earning ability is very low, because again, the minimum wage have been high to about 70,000. But this wage have not yet been paid. We've not seen those impact. We might see the impact in the near future, but for now, it doesn't look like that. So you are not surprised with what you're saying. And yes, it could be that the contraction is due to availability of data that we have as regards some certain sector of the Nigerian economy, the agricultural sector, the service sector. These are key sectors that normally drive the Nigerian economy. So in the short term, that look positive, and that means that we are going in the right direction in terms of trying to boost economic activities. But you should know that we are still in the red, because we are doing from this analysis that we got is about 48%. 50% mean we are good, and 50 points above 50 tells you that the economy is really moving in a fast pace. So we are not yet there. So those reports are not like they are giving us that we are already out of the wood. But it's a pointer to that in the shortest possible time, we might soon be out of the wood.
We're not yet there, but we're not far away. Let's look at the sectorial breakdown in terms of the performance. We see the services sector recording an expansion for the second consecutive month, while the industry sector also recorded a growth there. But we see agriculture sector, contracting again when compared to the level it was the previous month. This is a sector that many Nigeria will believe that should be the one, leading the economic growth now.
Yes, you shouldn't be surprised, Yusuf. You see the price of food has gone up. So that's because of the construction. That's why you're seeing the price of goods, and it's due to insecurity, high cost of production, high cost of transportation. Even if the president made us to realize in his broadcast that they said transportation has come down by 64%. But you and I know it hasn't come down that, because even at the moment people are struggling to buy PMS, even, and this price are going to as high as 900 naira in places like Kaduna, 800 naira also in some other places in the southeast and south. So that has not helped that sector. So I'm not surprised. You see a lot of goods have gone up. A lot of Nigerians are looking for easy ways. There was a time that a lot of Nigerians are actually taking cucumber to make their stew instead of tomatoes. So all these are sometimes why you're seeing those constructors in those places. In the industrial sector, I'm excited about that. But again, it's also we don't know how they got that, because if you look at some of this industrial sector, they are struggling because of high cost of funding. So if they get the data and it's telling us that sector is better, fine. The service sector have their own challenges. And when you're talking about the service sector, you're looking at the informal sector and some formal sector. With the informal sector, I think the bad governance crisis affected that sector. We'll see that maybe when the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics will come up with their results. But again, you look at the former services or like the MTN, they're also complaining as regard low tariff and issues that have to do with cost of doing businesses and FX losses. So, but to see that those places perform relatively well is a pointer to that we are almost there getting a lot of positivity despite all these challenges that they face.
Indeed, you talked about the inflation number that is being expected from the NBS any moment from now. Many analysts predict that the inflation numbers will slow down for the month of July. Many of them attributed their projection to the decrease in the prices of some commodities like tomatoes, peppers, and so many others. What is your own projection? Do you think we're going to see a slowdown in terms of a CPI for the month of July?
Well, when we look at, I think I'm expecting slowdown in terms of food inflation. Whether I will see that slowdown into the overall inflationary figure is not something that I'm so confident about. But again, if food inflation is the key driver of inflation, and we expect a slowdown, we could also see a slowdown there in the short term. I believe that we are gradually coming to that point because the physical side have decided to take the bull by the horn, and this is something I've been talking for a very long time, that the government need to take a bite of their revenue. Finally, they are trying to do that with the waiver duties for food items. So that also will drive down inflation. And we expect to see those numbers change maybe in the next month and a couple of months, where we try to also stabilize our own sector, because this is a short-term measure that will be here till December. But after December, what do we do? We begin to see that. But hopefully by that time, we would have seen agricultural farmers go to the farm. Just today, we read in the news that the federal government is thinking of sending troops to help farmers go to the farm, especially in areas whereby their products are key drivers to the well-being of Nigeria in the agricultural sector. So all those are physical policies that will come up and then bring down inflation drastically. I'm expecting that we should be coping down in terms of hiking rates, which a lot of businesses have suffered, to begin to see, whereby we'll be seeing a cutting rate, which will definitely be positive in the Nigerian economy, because this hike on rate has been going up for over 30-something months now, and we have not really seen the value in it, because the key drivers of rate hike has to do with inflation, which has to do also with exchange rate volatility, which has to do with tariff also. Especially when tariffs are fluctuating. Today is 1.6, tomorrow is 1. But with this, no more tariff sales on that, with stopping of your value-added tax, it could bring down the cost of these goods, and then you will see the impact in the long run. But in the short term, I expect food inflation to go down. Tomatoes, like you said, it really came down a bit again. So that will have a positive impact in those numbers going forward.
All right, Muktar Mohammed, financial analyst, I must thank you for your deep, analysis on Business Daily this morning. I must thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. With that is a wrap on the show today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Yusuf Akogun.